Okay, welcome everybody to this evening's ACY Securities webinar. My name is Duncan Cooper. Tonight's webinar is live Forex market review, so let's get into it. If everybody could read through the disclaimer. For those on our YouTube live stream, I can't see the chat, but I'm giving you the link to join us in the webinar if you want to join us and talk to me. For those in the webinar, you can chat to me using the chat box or the Q&A box. I've got both open. So just to take a moment to read through the disclaimer before we move along. All right, let's move along now. If you don't know me, my name is Duncan Cooper. I'm a Senior Market Strategist and Trade Mentor here at ACY Securities, and I'm a full-time Forex trader. Been trading the Forex market now for almost 20 years. Mentoring for more than 10. If you want to contact me, my email's on screen there, duncan.cooper@acy.com. Through the week, you can connect with me at our website. Go to acy.com and select the Market News tab, or our YouTube channel at ACY Securities Australia. And if you want to connect with me personally, just head over to my Linktree page. There's my handle there. If you want to get access to the charts I'm using in the webinar for MT4, just contact Nathan.bray's emails there. He'll be only too happy to set you up. And as well, for those in the webinar, I'll put his details in the chat if you want to contact him. Here we go. All right, let's get into what's happening today. First up, we'll have a look at the news items for the day or for the rest of the week. All right, so just wanted to say midnight yesterday, this time's my time, New South Wales, Queensland time. JOLTS job opening figures were a little bit poorer, so that's maybe a little bit suggestive that the job figures on Friday could be poorer. We'll have to wait and see, but the market's reacted to that. US dollar negative, I would say. Now, coming up for today, 10:15 p.m. for the US, we've got ADP non-farm employment change figures, unemployment claims at 10:30. So these two items can definitely drive the market. Midnight for the US ISM service PMI data, that can definitely drive the market too. So it's quite a difficult week. There are definite news items coming out that can drive the market, as shown earlier in the day when we had the JOLTS job opening figures coming out. More data tomorrow at 10:30 p.m. We have the Canadian job figures and, of course, the bigger one, the US job figures. So the market will be looking to see what that is, and I'm sure we'll get a major market reaction from that. So leading into that at the moment, unless the data changes what the US dollar is doing, US dollar is getting a little bit weaker at the moment, leading into the job figures. And Saturday morning, 1 a.m., we have the FOMC member Wallace speaking as well. So that may not be too high, but of course, he probably will be discussing something to do with interest rates, I'm sure. But the big one remaining for the week is the job figures, with other news items coming out this evening. All right, so be aware of those. Let's get into the charts now. Dollar index, as we're discussing on Tuesday, nothing's much changed from the monthly picture. We're getting possible support at 100.65. That's this low here. Are we going to be holding here to move back up, or are we going to be moving down and through? So weekly chart last week, we had a rejection. We are negative for the week at the moment, but by the end of the week, we could be positive. Who knows where we'll be after the job figures. We may come down here on the index to retest this area of support. It'll be interesting to see where we finish today in relation to the 79% level, just to the daily here. This has had a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-day move up from this area of support. So there is the possibility that now we're just having a dip before a higher bottom forms. So if we start to see a higher bottom forming, if, for example, today we get a reversal day up and then the day up tomorrow, that's going to start to show a higher bottom forming, we could come down to test the area of support. If we draw a fib in here, now the 79% level overlaps perfectly with support here. So, are we going to see, we could pull back to the 62, or we can come down to 79, or we're going to hold. Are we going to form some form of higher bottom here after this 5-day bounce? So that's the big question at the moment. Is support going to hold there to move back up the range? All right, so it's worth starting to watch. Does a higher bottom form there? If that happens, we may well see lower tops forming on the pairs to US dollar, because they've been trading down, having almost, we had a reversal yesterday, almost a day up today on some of the pairs. All right, S&P 500 is maybe topping out. Let's go get into that now. Or at least stalling up here at the all-time high. And I just want to tidy this off and go to the weekly chart. It's worth noting on the weekly chart, whilst we've rushed all the way back up, having an outside wick to the downside, this is a lower bottom. And are we forming the lower top here? Well, we're going to form a lower top if we can't take that top, final top out. So we're having an outside week. We've been up for the week at the start of the week, and now we're down. So, and an area I was watching for potential support hasn't happened. So at the moment, we're certainly turning negative now in the daily. And what could have been support now could be resistance, this area here. So with that very negative move, we may move up. But if you're looking to trade the index, you'd want to know now what's going to happen. It's going to drop to the 4-hour chart. What's going to happen if we come back up to 55.63? That's the line in the sand to watch around the news items coming out over the next couple of days. Do we come up and that become resistance to move down? Or do we move back above? And does it once more become support to move back up to test where we come from? So just wait to see at the moment here is somewhere where I'd like to trade. I'd want to know what's going to happen at 55.63 if we come back to it. Does it potentially now become resistance for, or are we coming right back down the range once more? Are we forming a long-term lower top here on the weekly chart? Because that will, the market will be watching. Let's go back to the weekly chart. They're going to be watching to see if this starts to hold. Now, if this starts to hold as a lower top, moving up from a lower bottom, that's significantly changing the trend up here to down at the moment. And the market will see that, and then I would start to expect a further sell-off. All right. So euro dollar, let's get into that one. Just hitting the 79% level and the 111 level. Let's go to the weekly chart here. So the 79% level I got here is of this range. So we came up very aggressively. False broke. One area of weekly resistance, two areas of weekly resistance here. Coming back up to this area right now at 110.95. And of course, we're just touching 111. 110.98 is a 79% retracement of this range. So the question is, if the dollar index is getting support, is this getting resistance? Because it's the inverse. So this range here, we're going to fail in this area to come down this way. It's going to be interesting to see how we finish by the end of this week. So today I would be watching. I don't feel like I want to do anything before the news comes out later in the day, but as I said on Tuesday, there's a minor swing point here that's gotten broken. So in my mind, that's turned the day to down now. I said watch for a bounce in this area, which we're having. But are we going to be coming up to this area to hold, to turn back down and put in a lower top? So that's the first area to watch, the 111 area. Higher up areas at 1139, the weekly high over here that we false broken. Generally speaking, I like to look at the high level. A 62 level here overlaps with that area. So from, a few things going on there, weekly resistance and a fib level. But the market is it's most definitely going to react to the news. So if we break higher with the news today, that's only 39 pips up from where it's at now. It's not very far at all. So we could certainly see this area today. So post news, I'd be watching 111 and 111.39 to see what is going on in those areas. All right, and there's a bit of an imbalance here on the 4-hour chart that may want to be filled just in this area, which would take us potentially up or very close to the 62 level here. There's also an imbalance here. A couple of imbalances in that area. So it's not out of the imagination that we could get up to the 79% level either. So I would maybe just wait for the news to come out later in the day and see if we can just maybe get up another 40 pips up the range there at least. Now, at the moment, 3 candles here, just short of 111 is holding. You can see 3 candles out of 4 here. Don't want to get above 111. So you could be waiting to see if you can see maybe some kind of tight trend line break to form here if you want to get in ahead of the news. We are at the major 79% level here, so maybe it doesn't want to go higher. So, what is your trigger to get short? I'd prefer just wait to see what happens post news because we were looking a bit negative yesterday before the news came out, and of course we went straight up. So we could do exactly the same when the news comes out. So it's a bit difficult this week with these news items coming out. All right, so levels there to watch on the euro dollar. As I was saying on Tuesday, I'm in the frame of mind, if I go back to the weekly here at the moment, is that I don't know if we're topping out here long term, but I think we might need a bit more of a retracement back down within the weekly uptrend that we've been establishing here. All right, and that would be within this range. That's the most immediate upward move. Back to the daily. We may want to be coming down to the 62 or 79% retracement areas of this move up. So logically, if this comes up and forms a lower top at some point, you would anticipate we're going to move back down the range. Doesn't say we're going to get a long-term change in trend. We may just need that weekly corrective measure before we can move higher. We'll have to wait and see. All right, so at the moment, I'm a little bit more focused on, are we going to put in some form of lower top somewhere? And then can we take advantage of that to the downside? All right, Euro Yen. Now, the yen pairs are being very difficult because most of them have early Monday or during Monday's trading are put in a higher high for the week compared to last week, but then we put in a lower low for the week to last week. Makes life difficult because I was thinking maybe we're putting in a higher bottom here to move back up the range, but quite clearly we're not. So it's difficult. The monthly trend is up. Higher bottom, higher top, 79% retracement rejection. The weekly trend is down. So at the moment, it looks more like the weekly trend is governing the most immediate direction, which is down. To the daily. Now, obviously failing at this area of weekly, I think that was a weekly, I just want to double check. This weekly low here. There's another weekly low here. And to the daily. There's a daily area of support here broken. Ordinarily, I would want to see a rally to sell a rally. If we aren't going down now, so we've completely failed to really advance, I would want to see some kind of pullback within this range now to a 62, 79% area. So I'm just going to take that fib out of the way at the moment. So we can just see this fib. Might move to the 4-hour chart. I'd like to look for a rally back to this zone up here, 62.79% zone. Keep dragging the fib down if the price keeps moving down. And look, you know, that's the move down we've had this week. Or do we come back up and form price action like that? So feeling like this might be a bottom of a move at the moment. Needs to rally back up. So looking to sell a rally. But the pairs are difficult at the moment. This could be a false break of this consolidation, and this could move all the way back up again because the market just keeps reacting to the news at the moment. Because I did think maybe we were breaking high at the start of the week, but of course we're not. All right, so I will be looking for some kind of price action like that on that pair. Euro pound hasn't moved much since Tuesday. I was saying, could we come back down to retest support at 83.97 and see a further rejection? It hasn't done that yet. That would be my preferred option at the moment. Do we come back down to retest? Hold to move up. Now, may not want to retest exactly support. You could be drawing a fib in from this low up across this range, rather consolidatory as you can see. But you could be looking at anywhere from the 79% level down support. So 84.07 down to 83.97. So that's a 10 pip area. Do we come back down into that area and want to reverse back up? That would be the look to be on the buy side to see if we can move back up the range. Whilst most of us might feel like, okay, well, this is a massive downtrend down here, can we break through support? Most definitely we can. It's just that, do you want to sell so close to support? The best area to sell was up here when I was discussing it 2 or 3 weeks ago to get short up here. But back down support. So we can break through support, but we're obviously at the bottom of the range. So it's less high probability selling close to support. All right, so I would maybe look to see if we retest and hold once more to move back up. You can see a very similar thing occurred here. We came back down almost the 79% level here before then wanting to move up. So I would look to see if we get a dip. Take that off. All right. Pound dollar, it's moving up. It hasn't taken out yesterday's high yet. It's just testing. Let's go to the weekly chart. So we're just back above this weekly high that I was feeling like we false broke. We did false break it last week because we closed below it. So will we be getting back below that 131.42 level? We're just at this weekly area of resistance here. This was an area of support that was, before we moved below, became resistance here to see this massive drop down long term. So clearly that was where we were getting support before the avalanche to the downside occurred. So quite clearly, whilst that's a massive drop, there could be traders that were long here wanting to, you know, get rid of those positions if they've been holding a long term, which means they're selling, or using that as a reference point. So weekly trend is up, kind of signaled at least a retracement back down the range here. So I would anticipate on this weekly chart, even though we're going up at the moment, that we're, you know, are we going to come down to the 62.79% area of that weekly move up? Are we going to get a corrective measure before maybe having another move up, or are we coming back down long term? All right, so on the day chart, this is what I was discussing Tuesday. There's a couple of imbalances here on the day chart that may want to be filled. At least this area here, I would generally expect this area to get filled, and that would give you then a 62% retracement back down to weekly support here. Whether or not we're going to do that, we'll have to wait and see. So are we going to be forming a lower top like we're saying on the euro dollar to retrace back down within the weekly range? So we rejected the 131.68 level yesterday. You can see the candle. Are we going to test this area today and then pretty much hold maybe to form a lower top? And obviously monitor. We're at the 50% area here at the moment. You could monitor the 62.79% area here through the rest of the week for that opportunity of a lower top forming. All right, so I'm a little bit more on the idea that the dollar index might find support where it is, and in the short term, these pairs pull back within their weekly ranges. They don't have to. Maybe the US dollar has had it, and these pairs are exceptionally strong, and they're just going to have 1 week down before they have more weeks out. We'll have to wait and see. All right, so at the moment, there's the line in the sand, really. It's 31.68. That would be the level to watch today. Has been previous support when it came back down here. Then we got a little bit of a sharp drop through that area, and we're just coming back up to fill any imbalance that may be seen. This is my 1 hour chart. You can see on the 1 hour chart, we did imbalances in last night's webinar. There's a 1 hour imbalance in here, and notably, we've come up to fill that. And, you know, this doesn't want to, at the moment, have a go at yesterday's high. So if you wanted to be cute ahead of the news, you could be looking for a short here at the moment, because it's not wanting to by the looks. You know, if I was dropping to a 5-minute chart, you've already had a 5-minute trend line break here. Could already be risk-free. All right. Even out on this 15-minute chart, you could be selling stop. I would think, you know, if you're going to sell here, have it above yesterday's high. And for those that were with me yesterday on imbalances, I just want to have a look on the 5-minute chart, see what is in the area here. There's no real imbalance in here that needs to be filled anymore. So we may well be turning over there to move back down. In this most immediate move up there, there's a little bit of an imbalance in here that we might be moving back to today. And then we could move back up. So, you know, this movement up here at the moment, that's at the 62 level. So we could, even if we are carrying up today, we may well move back down this way first before then moving up, because that's just had a very impulsive move up, creating that imbalance. All right. But again, if I want to manage my risk correctly, I think just waiting till the news items come out later in the day, because news came out yesterday, a very impulsive move up from it. So this could still want to maybe move up to the 62.79% area here. Through the course of the day. All right, pound yen. Like the euro yen, it did have a week. It's already had a week up and then a week down. It's failed at this weekly resistance area here. Again, we're trend on the monthly is up. It's pulled back to the 79% level of the monthly range, but the weekly trend is down. And looking like the weekly trend is governing direction at the moment. So to the weekly, you know, we could be forming a lower top on these pairs. Slightly different on the pound yen to the euro yen. Euro yen tried to put a higher bottom in, whereas the pound yen hasn't on the weekly. All right, so moving below this weekly level at 189.98. What jumps out at me is we could see a head and shoulder pattern form here. Keep dragging this down if price keeps moving down, but all this area of resistance here, will we see head and shoulder pattern? So that's what I would look for. Look for this to rally back up. Does it fail at this area? So this area, get the exact number. $192.01, so at the 192.00 level, do we come back to that area? That's the rally point. That we could definitely do that this week with the job figures coming out on Friday. All right, Aussie yen. Aussie yen was bullish at the start of the week. Here's your daily moving up. It's done the exact same as the other yen pairs. Weekly chart here. Week up, and then week down. So it looks like we're putting a lower top here, like I've been commentating on the other pairs. So again, difficult to be a seller on the third day down. Should have already got short by now if you want to get short, or you need to wait for a rally. So again, I would maybe, I just want to see where my lines are. Might just reference more the more recent resistance areas. That's 99.027. And again, we could get the same kind of head and shoulder pattern forming here. So of course, price tried to move above this high, this low, and did for a day, but then wasn't able to sustain it and got pushed down. So draw fib in, look for the head and shoulder pattern. 79% level perfectly overlaps in this area. So that is like whether or not the market's going to be user friendly and come up to offer that sort of opportunity to trade. I don't know. But, 9,900 there, if it gets back up there and it fails, then you've only got yourself to blame if you don't, if you're not watching that area to look to trade. You can see the complete false break above there. So definitely a possibility of a head and shoulder pattern there. All right, so that's what I'll be looking for. Aussie dollar. So Aussie dollar, this is just to say, we did bounce up yesterday to the 62 area of this 4-hour range, which just fraction short of last week's low. It is bouncing where I said support may come in on Tuesday from these two weekly highs to the left. Interesting, this has come back up exactly to that point here, in this little area here. Now, whether or not we come further up, really it's just come up to fill any imbalance. Now, we discussed imbalances yesterday. Whether or not there was an imbalance here, it's pretty much just come up to fill the imbalance of that drop there. So we should draw a line across here, 66.97. So at the moment it is getting support at support. Just want to get rid of that box. So a bunch of boxes everywhere. All right. So the big question is, from the weekly chart, as I said on Tuesday, is this the top of the range? And are we moving back to what is the bottom of the range? Okay. Yes, we could be getting support on these weekly highs to move off and through. But as I said, when price was coming out here, I said watch 68. We didn't quite get to 68 by a pip or two. It was a very sticky area last year here. Price was struggled really above that area. And once more, we're struggling in the same area. So are we once more failing here to move back down the range? And if we are moving back down the range, you want to get in within the early part of the move. So I would watch the daily to see if we're going to come up for a lower top. We could form some, like I was just saying on the M pairs, that could be a little shoulder. We could see the job news come out, push this all the way back up to here. All right, so most definitely if we get back up to 67.98 over the next few trading days, that is a level to most definitely watch for selling, because when we got up there the week before, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there was 6 days there, 5 of which traded at that level. None of the days could close above the level. One day was fractionally short there. So that is most definitely the seller's level if we get back up there, But, I always like to wait for the high level. Whether or not we can get up there, I don't know. On the 4-hour chart at the moment, we can see that 4-hour range, we're holding at the 62 level yesterday. So we may just come up to the 62 level and last week's low again today on any news volatility, and then hold to continue down. We'll have to wait and see. There is a bit of an imbalance that needs to be maybe filled on the 4-hour chart here. So, that would take us up to the 62% level. And in a perfect world, it would be back up to the 67.98 level. All right, so are we going to come up, be able to sell a rally? Now, if you're more bullish the pair, as I said on Tuesday, 67.14 down to really 6,700 area is support for you buyers if you're buying. All right, so any dips down here that start to hold, you could be looking to buy to trade back up to 67.98. And do we break above 67.98? So there's two sides of the market there. But notwithstanding, back to the day chart, the stronger area, this is a more important high than these. So this is the focal point of resistance at the moment. So to me, this resistance trumps this support. All right, but this area could be where we're getting support to longer term move through those tops. All right, New Zealand yen, like the other yen pairs, outside reversal week to the downside. This weekly low broken at 99.94. And it's not quite structurally the same as those other head and shoulder patterns I was discussing, but drag a fib across, look for the rally. It'd be nice if this got down a little bit deeper, then we could get at least a 62% fib overlapping with this area here. So I think the primary area to watch, it is that weekly broken support at 89.94 and this high here at 90.21. But it would be nice if we had some fib level confluence there. So, are we going to be seeing move back into this area to hold now to move down? All right, New Zealand dollar. Now it's already rallied yesterday back into the area that I said to watch for resistance. So false break of this double top once, double top twice area. We did move above, but false broke, filling at 79% level from December's high to this bottom of the range. Are we going to come up to form a lower top? We only have to break above yesterday's high and false break this area today to form a lower top. All right, yesterday's movement up, you can see, came up to tag, held, and traded back down within the day. So that to me is remains to be the area. Higher area would be just drawing a fib across that range for a sell. Higher up at the 79% level, or the 62 to 79% level, and in between that area, you've got the bigger 79% level at 62.58. But at the moment, that logical level that was discussing on Tuesday is acting as resistance. We've had a imbalance get filled in here. That came up to fill the imbalance, and we may not come back into that area, but that would be the area to watch today. Any volatility on the news? Do we come back up here? Could also watch for held there at the moment, but you know, you could rewatch when the news comes out later in the day. Does this area hold as resistance, or do we want to come up into the higher area where we failed yesterday? Notably, in the imbalances we discussed yesterday, there was one here. So when we were down here early in the day, it needed to come up to fill this imbalance, 79% level, and now we filled that, and we may be wanting to turn down already here. Let me just drag that over. After hitting that 79% level of that range, we could already be putting in a minor rally to that 79% level to turn over. So we might see another stub of this area later in the day, depending on the news. It's always tricky at the moment with the news coming out. Do you want to get beginning in now, or do you want to wait for the news to come out and then see how price sits? So this could already be failing here to want to move down the range. So with the New Zealand dollar, I'll just go back to the daily, and the Aussie dollar. Both are very similar. Let's go to the weekly chart. We could be false breaking this area here. False breaking the area to come back down to this area once more. So again, if that's what's happening, high risk, high reward to risk here. If you're selling at the top of the range, trade back down to the bottom at the moment. You want to be getting in within the early part of the move if that's what's happening. All right. Dollar Canadian. Just on my 4-hour chart with these imbalances I was discussing on Tuesday, we filled the first one, but there's the higher one up there here on the day chart. Filled the first one, and the sell-off yesterday after the interest rate cut and then the US news just traded within the range of the day before. And it's kind of just looking at this day chart, wanting to these two high days, highs of these 2 days here, it's kind of wanting to get some maybe support there. So it's come up. So we've seen this movement up. Are we holding here to come up? I'm inclined to think we're going to be coming up the range to fill this imbalance, or at least come up to test this area of broken support. Now, we may not come out, as I said on Tuesday, but I'm thinking we're going to come up this way. Now, we could be forming a long-term top here to go to the weekly chart. We could have failed at the top because the weekly trend's turned down to come back up now, to go like so. Or there's the opposite side of the coin, because on the monthly chart, we have an uptrend. So whilst that weekly's turned down, the monthly trend is up. And this could just be a pullback here to then want to go up, because we've kind of had a 62% retracement of this range. That's up to a higher top. Put the day chart, we're at the 62 area here. So I'm kind of inclined to think that maybe we could have put in a bottom here to now be coming up this way, which could still be a rally to fail to put in a lower top on the weekly chart, but we could be starting to see some kind of price action like so to come up and challenge the high that we've sold off from, and maybe want to try to move on and through. So if you see some kind of bullish scenario here on a lower time frame, that's the way we could be going, even though we sold off yesterday. Because we have had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's we did go up yesterday. We've had 6 days up, so we're never going to go up day by day by day without having some correction. All right, the 4-hour chart. So there's a bit of a range here. All right, and there's a 79% area here, which is all overlapping with these highs to the left. So at 135.03, so pretty much, let's call it 135.00. 50-minute chart. You can see we've dropped. There's a lovely imbalance here that needs to be filled. Post news today, do we maybe spike back down to 135? If we start to hold again today, I would watch down at 135 to hold, to come up to fill this area. And, we're going to be coming back up really to challenge, the high of this week that we formed at the moment. Not to say that we can't move down, but if we wanted to move down, what I'd have to do as a trader is then draw my fib this way. So if the bias could be up or down, is then of that downward move, I'd want to look at this area getting filled and then failing up here at the 79% level. 135.50. So depending on your overall bias, if you want to sell, you don't want to be selling at the bottom of that drop. You want to be trying to sell a rally. All right, so it could actually go either way. I mean, I'm more inclined to think the biggest trend on the chart's the monthly, and that's up, and we've had a 62% retracement. So I'm more inclined to think that if I start to see bullish price action, that is the way to go. All right, so I'm just going to go with the other way. I could be wrong, but this imbalance up here, I think, needs to get filled. So I would look down 135.03 down to 135.00 today for support, depending on what the news does. Dollar franc, don't really like the dollar franc at the moment. It's in the support area, even though the trend's down. So the weekly's down. We're underneath this monthly low. We're very low historically at the moment. And we've twice rejected down here. Rejected came up, then we rejected that low. So positive day yesterday. So this is another weekly chart, weekly rejection from that weekly low there. So we're a bit trapped between weekly support, and this is a monthly area of resistance. So the question is this holding? Are we going to see this hold once more? So if we come down, if we once more retest 84.32, and there's a 79% level down at 84.29, if we come down to this area once more, do we hold? Because if we do, we're going to form a higher bottom, So pairs to the US dollar would be forming lower tops. We're going to be seeing a move up this way. All right. I don't know if we are, but that's what I would be looking for more than the short. If I wanted to look to the short side, I would need to see price come up to 85.52 and hold as resistance. And we don't have that. So we've had a 3-day or 4-day move up here. Are we having like a 2-day reversal before moving back up? All right. I forgot to do the dollar yen on Tuesday, so I'll do it today. Like the other yen pairs, now the monthly trend is up. We dropped back below the 79% level. This hasn't been as bullish as the other yen pairs in terms of are we putting a bottom in play here or not. Weekly trends, it's formed a lower top here, and we did put in a higher bottom, but then we've broken that bottom. So what we're definitely seeing here is try to move back above this weekly resistance at 146.47 and ultimately failed, which is a little bit negative for sure. So it does beg the question, are we going to continue down and break the monthly low here? Daily, what I have been looking at is this range. So this was the impulsive move up back above the 79% level. And we have another 79% level here. So there's see that candle low here where we came down. So we have that candle low there, that area of support there. So 1 day there, 2 day there. That's the third time we've struck into that area. Are we holding? So I think today for the dollar yen, I would just wait to see how the day finishes. If we have a reversal candle to the upside today, then we could be forming a support area here to move up. And of course, if you want to get long, you need to be long and managing your trade. If we come back up to retest 146.47, we could fail there once more. That could be the seller's level still. Now we could be indecisive around news events at the moment, and we could hold here, come back up there, and we could just, be in some kind of horrid price action. Most of this here is rather horrid. So we could just remain like that as the market is trying to determine what the US is going to do with interest rates long term. This week in Australia, we're kind of saying that maybe we're in recession. We're not technically in recession, but from a GDP point of view, it's very, very minimum growth with high interest rates. So I think most people probably feel like we're in recession, even though technically we're not quite in recession. So let's talk about the US being potentially moving into recession. Are other nations really following suit? So then, we could have lots of periods of poor price action because the market doesn't quite know which way it wants to go. So, but today I think I will just wait for the day to finish, and do we finish positive? Because if we do, maybe you want to look then for your buy side bias setup, trade back up the range. Okay. All right, gold. Right, this is the area of support on my day chart I've been discussing. I discussed it 2 weeks ago, and then I was away last week. And I discussed it on Tuesday, and Tuesday came down into the area. Wednesday came down into the area, found support, and now we're off. So really, that was the buy area. So it's a little bit difficult now. Could once more through the course of the week, we could most definitely, if we top out up here today, draw a fib on the 4-hour, and 79% level would be overlapping with the area of support once more. So we could most definitely once more revisit this area. That is support. So I'd watch 28.43 down to 24.83 down to 24.77. Does that area once again offer support? It's been once, twice, 3 times. Is it going to come for the fourth go? give you another opportunity to buy before are we moving up to another record high. So it might not offer another dip. You'll have to wait and see. But that would be the area that I would watch for support once more. Right, so that's my thoughts on the market at the moment. So make sure you're following the news. I'm not going to do anything today until we get the past 10:30. In fact, I'll have to wait and see what price does there, because we also have the ISM services data, which can definitely affect the market. So I might have to wait till past midnight to see what I want to do. And depending on how price sits at that time, I might have to wait until the job figures passes on Friday, but we'll have to wait and see. It would be great if we came up to a really good level for a lower top forming of some of those pairs to the US dollar. You know, like I was saying, one that really jumps out at me is this Aussie. We got some volatility here. We're only, what are we? We're about 80 pips away. But if we could get back up to there, that would be a great area to look for a short. Whether or not we may have missed the boat up there, we'll have to wait and see. And the euro dollar would be nice if it could get up to the 111.63 area with this imbalance here. This is the 4-hour chart. We'll just have to wait and see if we can get up to some higher levels that where we've been failing at. Are we going to see back on board next Tuesday for more analysis? Are we going to see some form of lower tops forming on these pairs to the US dollar? Maybe back up to 11.39, this weekly high here for a short. All right, I'll leave that with you. Thanks, everybody. Have a great trading day and the rest of the week. And on our webinar website page, if you want to join me next week, I will be back on the 10th. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday next week. If you want to join me, just head over to the webinar page link and register your interest. I look forward to seeing you. Thanks, everybody.